Good afternoon, children. How are you all? I hope all are fine and safe. Today, in the history class, we'll see chapter 5 Delhi Sultanate, and we have already discussed about the political setup under Delhi Sultanate. We have also seen the socio economic life under Delhi Sultanate, and today we will see the art and architecture during the Sultanate period. So, let's start. Delhi Sultanate brought with it a new style of art and architecture to India. The two most prominent architectural ideas introduced during this time were the pointed arch and dome. This period is notable for the range of experimentation. That means lot of experiment has been done regarding the constructions of different buildings, monuments and palaces. The artists and engineers of India were eager to learn from the inflow of new ideas at that time. Indian artists were very interested and eager to know the architectural style of that time that was brought by the Muslim architectures. While the indigenous techniques were retained, the techniques of Indian architecture were also there. Okay, it was also there, and they continued the position of constructing buildings. They also observed several new thoughts and ideas. Major development were made in the field of music, and Indian and Arab forms intermingled with the Persian and Central Asian traditions. So, major development had been seen in the field of music. As today we are seeing the mixture of different countries' musics together. Like an example, Atif Aslam. Atif Aslam is a Pakistani singer, but in India his singing style and is liked by appreciated by different people like youngster also, and the music style that is Western style, and the lyricking style also is Pakistani style. So this is called mixture of different countries. Okay, that's one more singer was there, Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. Okay, so these singers is a good example of the intermingle of the music. Today also we see in between Indian music we listen some English words, English raps. Okay, that is also the impact of Western music that we see in our Indian musics. Okay, next, thus two different ideas mixed to develop what we now know as the Indo-Islamic culture. Okay, I already told you about this. Next, architecture. The Delhi Sultanate took great interest in architecture. They founded new cities, built palaces, forts, rest houses, mosques, tombs and bridges. They brought a new type of architecture which was a blend of Hindu-Muslim architecture. So it was a mixture of Hindu-Muslim architecture. It includes the buildings and monuments built in Delhi and surrounding area by Slave dynasty, by Khalji dynasty, by Tughlaq dynasty and Sayyid dynasty and Lodi dynasty. So different dynasties played very important role while in constructing the different buildings and monuments. What was the silent features of the architecture? What was the importance of this architecture style? They used red sandstone. Red sandstone means Red Fort of India is a good example of red sandstone that is built by fully red sandstone. The two main architectural features of Delhi Sultanate were the dome and the true arc. Most of the buildings had double domes. Now what is an arc? Okay, what is an arc? Picture you can see here, this is called an arc. What is arc? The arc is a strong building method because it creates a very stable condition. The reasons it is stable because the left side falling forces are equal to the right side, so that they push against each other with the same amount of pressure, which holds them both upright. So this is the main importance of arc, and this is what arc is. Next, floral and geometrical designs were used. So they designed the buildings like flower, and the geometrical designs also were there. Okay, they use mathematically regarding the construction of any kind of building. The Alai Darwaja of Quwat ul Islam Mosque, built by Alauddin Khilji in 1311 CE, is an important example of true arc. So it is Alai Darwaja. Okay, the true example of true arc. The domed gateway is decorated with red sandstone and inlaid with white marble decoration. Marble is very common nowadays. Most of the houses are having tiles and marbles at home. You know that very well. Alauddin Khilji built Sri Fort in Delhi. Ghayasuddin Tughlaq was very fond of building monuments and buildings. He also built the city of Tughlaqabad. The Jama Masjid at Ahmedabad and Champaner are beautiful and lofty structures. That means these are the very attracting structures. The famous Adina Masjid at Malda, one of the largest mosques of the Muslim world, was built during the reign of Sikandar Shah. The Quwat ul Islam Mosque, built by Qutbuddin Aibak, is a fine example of Indo-Islamic style of architecture. The Adhai Din Ka Jhopda Mosque at Ajmer, also built by Aibak, was enlarged by Iltutmish. Qutbuddin Aibak was started the construction of Qutub Minar, which was eventually completed by Iltutmish. So Qutbuddin Aibak started the constructions of Qutub Minar but was completed by Iltutmish. Firoz Shah Tughlaq was the most magnificent builder among the Tughlaq rulers. Very good and excellent builder who Firoz Shah Tughlaq was the very excellent or magnificent or very good builder among the Tughlaq rulers. The greatest monuments of his reign are Kotla Firoz Shah Fortress, his version of Delhi city called Firozabad, Kali Masjid, Lal Gumbad, and his own mausoleum. The most important monument of the Lodi dynasty is Maut Ki Masjid, which was built by Sikandar Lodi. Okay, so these are the important buildings and monuments that was built by different dynasties, different rulers of the different dynasties, and all these monuments and buildings we can see the mixture of Indian architecture and Muslim architecture. Okay, and the different style were adapted regarding the construction of different building, and different styles were given to them. Importance of architectural structures. The buildings and architecture of the Sultanate period served a variety of purposes, such as preventing foreign invasions for attacks. So these buildings were constructed from the protection of the foreign attackers, displaying creativity and spreading their religion. So another important, that is to display the creativity of the architecture or the builders, and another is spreading their religion. That's why the Muslim architecture were used their architectural that spread, that shows, that mark the Islamic religion. So spreading their religion. Another reason was the architecture was seen as a symbol of power. So it also seen as a symbol of power, which according to the kings, the more magnificent the structure, the more power is it reflects. So your building or monuments or the palaces is how strong, how big, that reflects the power of the king or the sultan. The buildings were thought to be an enduring mark of the power and rule of the king. The mosques were built to show the devotions of the ruler to God. So mosques were built to show the devotions, means king's devotion, means the ruler's devotions towards God, how they believe, how they are strongly believe in God. That shows. The rulers also undertook constructions activities such as making of roads, sarais or rest houses, taverns, reservoirs and wells for welfare and fame. For example, House a Sultani was constructed by Sultan Iltutmish outside Delhi Kuan. Similarly, places of worship like temples, gurdwaras and mosques have tanks or reservoirs for use by common people. They not only constructed different buildings and palaces and the fort, but they also constructed different wells, rest houses, temples for common people also, so that they can use them in their life. Next, I request everyone to read the subtopics as we have discussed now. Just go through it and underline the difficult words. Okay, afterwards we'll go to the next subtopic, that is paintings and music. Welcome back, children. I hope you have studied the chapter, the subtopics, art and architecture of Delhi Sultanate very well. Now we'll see paintings and musics. The art of painting did not receive adequate attention during the time of Delhi Sultanates. Though some progress was made in the field of music during this period, the classical Hindustani style of music developed at this time due to the influence of Persian and Arabic music. The Sufi saints made the Persian forms of chorus called qawwalis popular in India. So qawwalis, qawwalis, one man sit in the middle and others sit in the middle and sing and lead the song, and others clap and follow whatever he sings. They repeat the songs just after the main lead singer. That is called qawwali. That is still popular in India. Musical instruments such as sitar, sarangi and tabla were popularized. So sitar and tabla were popularized, became very famous at this time. What is sitar? This is sitar and tabla. This is okay. You have seen, you know this very well. These are used in Indian music. So, education. The ancient Hindu centers of learning such as Vikramshila, Nalanda, Banaras, Kashi and Prayag had been destroyed. So these were the famous universities of that time. Ancient famous universities, Vikramshila, Nalanda University, Banaras University, Kashi University and the Prayag University. All these were destroyed by the Sultanate rulers. Hindu children received education in Gurukuls, that means Pathsala, attached to the temples. So Gurukuls were attached to the temples. The Delhi Sultans established madrasas at mosques to impact religious educations. So madrasas were built to impart religious education to the Muslim children or other children. They gave jagirs to the madrasas to meet their daily needs. Firoz Shah Tughlaq established a residential education center at Firozabad. So Firoz Shah Tughlaq established a residential, that means a hostel system, that time started residential educational center at Firozabad. Can you tell me what is can you tell me an example of residential educational center that is still continuing in India or recently adapted by the Indian government or started by the Indian government? Yes, they are Kasturba Gandhi Vidyalaya, Netarhat Vidyalaya and Navodaya Vidyalaya. All these are the residential schools. One more is there, Eklavya Vidyalaya. All these are the residential schools. Nowadays private schools also are there, that they run the residential schools. Our Lupungutu schools is like that also, residential schools. Okay, next let's move forward. Language and literature. The Delhi Sultans encouraged the study of Persian language. Okay, they encouraged the study of Persian language. It was spoken mostly by rulers. So Persian was mostly spoken by rulers, nobles and religious peoples. Sanskrit was the language spoken by highly learned Hindus. Sanskrit was only spoken by the highly learned or educated Hindus. Under the influence of Sufi saints, various regional language flourished. Okay, so the Sufi saints played important role to influence the regional language. Persian was the court language. So Persian was the official language. Both Hindus and Muslims contributed to the growth of Persian literature. This period also saw the emergence of the Urdu language. So this was the period where Urdu language started. Okay, beginning of, you can say, the beginning of Urdu language. Urdu was a simple language understood by both Turks and Indians. So it was the common language became, and that was understood by the Turks and Indians. The Sultanate rulers also patronized the Sanskrit. So sultans accepted, they adopted the Sanskrit language too. Major Sanskrit scholars of this age were Ramanuja and Jayadeva. So these were the major Sanskrit scholars of this period, Ramanuja and Jayadeva. Many sultans got a number of Sanskrit works translated into Persian and Arabic. Literature consisted of translated works of original Sanskrit text or text written in local languages. Two of the greatest Indian epics, Mahabharata and Ramayana, were also translated in regional languages. The legendary poet Amir Khusro belonged to this age. Amir Khusro was a great poet of this period. He was nicknamed as Parrot of India. So that means a great poet, okay, Parrot of India. This title had been given by the Sultanate rulers. He was a famous author who wrote in Persian, Hindi and Urdu. 3 languages he used for writing his poems: Persian, Hindi and Urdu. Minhaj-ul-Siraj, Ziauddin Barani and the famous traveler Ibn Battuta. Ibn Battuta was a traveler, okay, wrote in Persian language on political events and lives of common people. So Minhaj-ul-Siraj, Ziauddin Barani and Ibn Battuta, they wrote the political events and the lives of the common people during this period. So here we end the chapter. I request everyone, once again you read the chapter and underline the difficult words, and for clearing your doubts you can send your questions by voice messages or by typing. You can ask any questions to me soon after reading these subtopics of Delhi Sultanate chapter 5. Okay, afterwards we'll move forward to the question answers. So few minutes I am giving for clearing your doubts. Thank you and have a good day ahead.